For 3 decades, Johnny Carson never lost his cool. He was the undisputed king of television, a master of control. But a handful of guests pushed him past his breaking point, unleashing a side of Carson the public had never seen. These weren't just awkward moments. They were career-ending explosions that got stars permanently blacklisted. We've uncovered the stories of what happened when America's most beloved host finally said, "Enough." Johnny was obsessed with perfection. Every joke, every segment was timed to the second. So when animal expert Joan Embry brought a tame monkey named Mo backstage, Johnny wasn't worried. But live television is a different beast. The second the studio lights hit, Mo launched himself directly onto Johnny's perfectly styled hair and relieved himself. As a warm stream dripped down his collar, Johnny, ever the professional, quipped, "Folks, it's drizzling in here." The audience howled, but close-ups revealed his hands were shaking. Backstage, he furiously scrubbed his scalp, telling his producers, no primates above shoulder height, period. But if a monkey was embarrassing, a panther was nearly fatal. During a commercial break, Johnny curiously approached a panther's cage. The trainer, Ron Shannon, assured him the animal was calm. As Johnny leaned in, the panther roared and slammed against the bars, its claws exploding just inches from his face. Carson threw himself backward, sprawling across the floor. He scrambled up, straightened his tie, and delivered the line of the night, "I just lost 9 lives." The audience saw classic Carson wit, but the crew saw a man in genuine shock. NBC replayed the clip on blooper specials for years, but Johnny hated it. It was a stark reminder of how quickly his controlled world could fall apart. The chaos peaked with the baby elephant. It looked adorable, but the hot studio lights spooked it. A low rumble was the only warning before a massive, steaming pile hit the studio floor with an audible splat. Johnny gagged and tried to wave the stench toward his sidekick Ed McMahon. Stagehands rushed in with buckets but slipped, spreading the mess across the stage like a brown toxic lava flow. Johnny was furious. The incident led to an immediate 2-year ban on all elephant acts, and the new rule requiring plastic sheeting for any large animal. Johnny had survived the wild, but the human animals were about to prove far more dangerous. In 1994, Madonna strutted onto the stage, not as a guest, but as an invader. Dressed in a black bustier, she ignored the guest chair and perched herself on the edge of Johnny's desk, invading his personal space. She fanned herself with his cue cards, asked him about his underwear, and licked her finger before touching his coffee mug. Johnny's smile was frozen, his eyes desperately pleading with the control booth for a commercial break. The interview was ratings gold, but when NBC begged him to have her back, Carson's response was simple. Once is memorable, twice is self-destruction. The chaos continued with Farrah Fawcett. America's sweetheart arrived for her interview in a silver jumpsuit, but her eyes were darting nervously. She was visibly disoriented. When Johnny asked about her new film, Saturn III, she giggled and called it Saturday 3. Before rambling about roller skating in Malibu, she whispered that she sometimes dreamed she was a dolphin, and then became fascinated with the boom microphone, calling it a huge lollipop. Johnny, acting as a professional lifeguard, cut the segment short. The press speculated she was intoxicated. Her agent blamed exhaustion. Privately, Carson was furious and instituted the Farrah Protocol, a mandatory rest period and pre-interview rehearsal for any guest who seemed off. Sometimes, the most terrifying moments came from the most innocent guests. Myrtle Young, a sweet grandmother who collected potato chips shaped like famous people, seemed like the perfect guest. She proudly showed off a chip that looked like Abraham Lincoln. Johnny, in a moment of mischief, grabbed a regular Ruffles chip from a bowl on his desk and pretended to eat her prized possession. The audience roared, but Myrtle's face went pale. Her hand flew to her chest, her knees buckled, and she gasped for air. This wasn't a joke. It was a medical emergency. Johnny's grin vanished. He dropped the chip and grabbed her arm as paramedics rushed onto the set during the commercial break. The poor woman genuinely thought he had destroyed her life's work. That night, Johnny called her hotel room 3 times to apologize, haunted by the look on her face. He later told his head writer, "That landed wrong. We never scare sweet grandmas again." While Myrtle's scare was an accident, Chevy Chase's downfall was pure arrogance. In 1978, Chase walked onto the stage like he owned it. He slapped Johnny's desk, demanded bigger applause, and mocked Johnny's tie. He wasn't a guest. He was staging a takeover. Johnny's tell for rising anger was his pencil. When he was annoyed, he'd tap it. That night, the tapping sounded like a machine gun. Chase, too absorbed in his own performance to notice, made a fatal mistake. He slapped Johnny's shoulder hard. The studio went silent. Johnny's voice was ice cold. "Touch me again and you'll be hosting alone." The audience laughed nervously, but it wasn't a joke. After the show, Johnny told his talent coordinator to book Chase on any show that didn't tape in his studio. For the next 3 decades, Chevy Chase was banned from The Tonight Show. The message was clear: you don't disrespect the king. Some confrontations didn't even happen on camera. Wayne Newton had been the butt of Johnny's monologue jokes for years, but the jokes were starting to affect his business and reputation in Las Vegas. In 1980, Newton had enough. He bypassed security at NBC's Burbank studios, stormed down the hallway, and burst into Carson's office. According to Newton, he got in Johnny's face and said, "I will kick your rear end." It's unclear if he made physical contact, but the threat was unmistakable. Carson had dealt with angry guests, but never one who resorted to physical intimidation. His response was swift and absolute. He called NBC security and issued a permanent ban. Wayne Newton was never to set foot on the premises again. The lesson echoed through Hollywood. You could complain about a joke, but you could never threaten the man who told it. Physical threats were one thing, but what happened next was a betrayal that shattered Carson completely. And it came from someone he considered family. Joan Rivers wasn't just a guest host, she was Johnny's protege, the daughter he never had. He coached her, shared his private notes, and beamed with pride as she became a star in her own right. He saw her as his successor. Then, in 1986, the news broke. Joan had secretly signed a deal with Fox to host her own late-night show, directly competing with Johnny. He didn't get a call from her. He read it in the trades. For a man whose childhood was marked by a cold, critical mother, this abandonment cut deeper than anyone could imagine. He slammed his pencil on his desk so hard it snapped. That night, he walked off the set before the show, and when he performed, it was on autopilot. He ordered his staff to pull every clip of Joan Rivers. Every rerun, every mention was erased. She was gone. Joan claimed she tried to call, but Johnny never took it. He told friends, "She had my home number." The phone never rang. Her rival show was a failure, and her husband, Edgar, who had pushed for the deal, took his own life months later. Joan sent letters and gifts to Johnny for years, trying to apologize. Every single one was marked "Return to Sender." Johnny Carson passed away in 2005 without ever speaking her name again. But the names on Johnny's blacklist went far beyond confrontational actors and personal betrayals. Over 3 decades, a secret list of permanently banned guests was created, and the reasons for exile were absolute. Violating Johnny's unspoken rules didn't just get you a bad interview. It got you erased from the guest list forever. First on the list was the man who claimed to bend spoons with his mind, Uri Geller. What Geller didn't know was that Johnny Carson began his career as a magician. He despised frauds and saw Geller as a threat to legitimate performers. So, before Geller's 1973 appearance, Johnny made a secret phone call to the famous skeptic James Randi. Together, they devised a trap. Instead of letting Geller use his own props, The show provided a set of spoons, keys, and sealed film containers that were kept under guard until the moment Geller walked on stage. The confidence drained from Geller's face the second he saw them. He stalled, pressing the objects to his forehead, claiming the studio lights and the audience's energy were hostile. He mumbled about feeling drained. Johnny sat back, patiently, letting the silence do the work. Finally, he delivered the killing blow. "We'll give you as much time as you need in the next life." The audience erupted, and Geller's career as a serious psychic was shattered on national television. Afterward, Johnny told his producers, "I won't provide another platform for deception." Uri Geller was never invited back. Then there was the case of Bob Hope, a Hollywood legend and a ratings giant. But his style was poison to Carson's spontaneous magic. Hope treated interviews not as conversations, but as scripted performances. His team would send thick binders with pre-approved jokes, talking points, and even preferred camera angles. He wasn't talking to Johnny. He was reading lines to the camera. The final straw came in 1978 when Hope managed to mention 3 different sponsors in less than 7 minutes. After the show, an exasperated Carson told his producers, "I won't conduct infomercials disguised as interviews." He's reciting commercials with canned laughter. The network balked at banning a star of Hope's magnitude, but Johnny was firm. There was no official announcement, but the invitations to Bob Hope simply stopped coming. Even Johnny's friends weren't safe. Don Rickles' Mr. Warmth routine was built on chaos, but eventually, the destruction became too much. The breaking point happened in 1976 when Rickles was guest hosting. He grabbed Johnny's treasured walnut cigarette box, a sentimental gift from a crew member who had once saved Johnny from a studio fire, and smashed it while goofing around. When Carson returned, he turned the incident into a hilarious on-air bit where he stormed onto Rickles' neighboring TV set. But off camera, he wasn't laughing. The broken box was symbolic of a larger problem. Rickles ignored timing cues, derailed entire segments, and pushed jokes that got the show in trouble with censors. Quietly and professionally, the word went out. Rickles was too much of a liability. His reign of chaos on The Tonight Show was over. Perhaps the most shocking name on the blacklist was the one man nobody could imagine offending anyone. Fred Rogers, the beloved host of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, was booked to bring a touch of warmth to the show. Instead, he brought it to a grinding halt. His entrance was slow. His speech was gentle and deliberate. When Johnny tried an icebreaker, raising his shoe and saying, "Fred, I wore sneakers in your honor," Rogers smiled and replied, "That's very thoughtful, Johnny. Sneakers can help us feel ready to play." The joke died on the spot. Every planned comedic beat was thrown off by Rogers' patient 2-second pauses between thoughts. For late-night television, it was a catastrophe. The next day, the Nielsen ratings confirmed Johnny's fears. There was a 3-point audience drop during Rogers' segment, a massive decline. The decision was purely business. Carson told his staff, "Fred Rogers embodies sainthood, but saints don't succeed in late night." The ban wasn't personal, it was professional preservation.